Alright, so this is a continuation of the previous step. After rebooting the machine, this is the BIOS startup point, and this time I'm starting with the hard drive. So to change your option, okay, I'm using an editor here to show you, what you need to change. Instead of saying dash boot D, which specifies we are starting with the CD-ROM, you have to change it to dash boot C, which means we are starting with the first hard drive. At this point, you don't really need dash CD-ROM slash dev slash SDB1 anymore, because we only needed that for the installer, and at this point the installation is all done already. But there's no harm in leaving it in the command line either, so you can do it either way. Anyway, when you boot from the CD, you will see two options here. The first option is the regular operating system, and then the second option is a recovery mode. We'll go ahead and pick the first one, and it will give you the usual startup screen. And now we have the login prompt. You can see that when we don't have that much stuff installed, the startup process is actually really fast. So we'll go ahead and log in as root with the password of ball, and that's because that's how I set up in the virtual server. And now I'm root at VM1 in the virtual machine. And the first thing I want to do is to find out how much space is actually used in each of the logical volumes. And a quick way to do that is use the df command and specify -h so that the units will be readable for humans. So that's what the H stands for. And you can see that in the root, or the slash mount point, of the 200 megabytes that I allocate, 183 is available to the file system, and we are using 100 megabytes, and we have 74 megabytes left, which is not bad. I mean, we are not even close to using the majority, or we're using the majority. We're using more than half of it, but still we still have a lot left. You can also see that in the home folder, we are hardly using anything. This is really just overhead to create the file system. /temp, same thing. We are not using a whole lot of that. User is using quite a bit because of the half gig that we allocate to the logical volume. We are using 262 megabytes, and we only have 176 megabytes left. So 60% is in use with /var. With /user, and then with /var we are only using 25%. So we have a lot of space left at this point to install programs that are specific to a server. When we do run out of space, we can use the command called lv extend, or logical volume extend, to expand a particular logical volume. But at this point, we are all good. Alright, so now we actually have a virtual server completely set up. And other things we can check is how much RAM is used, or how much RAM is allocated to the virtual machine, since I did not specify how much RAM to use. So when you use the command top, it shows you a lot of useful information. It shows you the current time. It shows you the uptime. Basically the system has been up for only 2 minutes. Only one user is using the system at this point. Load average, short term, medium term, and long term are all 0 because there's nothing going on here except for the top program itself. The system is allocated physically. It has 128 megabytes of RAM, of which we are using 35. We're using 35 megabytes. So that really shows you the efficiency of Linux. I mean, we only gave it 128 megabytes, but it really only needed about 35 at this point. And we are already, we have the operating system up and running. We have the SSH server up and running as well at this point. So that really is quite efficient as an operating system. It also shows you that our swap partition has approximately 255 megabytes available. They're all free because we are hardly using. We're using about a little more than a quarter of the RAM allocated to the virtual machine. So there's no need to touch the swap space at all at this point. So concludes how to set up a virtual server. Now, as a virtual server, it doesn't mean that you can just click the X button in QEMU or KVM and shut down the system like that, because that's basically equivalent to pulling the plug on the computer, and you should never do that. So to shut down the system, we use exactly the same command as the live image itself. Basically it works on all Linux systems. You just say power off to shut down the system. So this way, all the changes to the file system will be committed consistently, and your system will be shut down cleanly this way. So just press the enter key, and the system is now completely shut down. And what you're seeing here is just a background image of my desktop. And this really concludes the last part of this demonstration. So I'm going to string all of these things, and then send it to you guys. Thanks for watching.